thanks again for inviting us to bid. We are certainly more than a business, a family. We're family owned and operated. My name's Jamie and I'm your estimator. Here are a few pictures I took with a drone just before it started raining on me, and it gives you a good perspective of the asphalt condition. Here is one of the roads that I am calling a 1-to-1. That would mean for every 1 linear foot of road, there are also at least 1 foot of linear cracks. So if you were to measure the road and it was 5 miles, there would be 5 miles of cracks. This next road is the road right as you take a left past the tennis courts, and I measured these cracks and I got a quarter of the length. So on the map that I have coming up here, we have 1 to 4, or take the linear foot of the road and divide that by 4 is the crack fill for that road. Similarly to the 5,000 example, perhaps an easier example for this one would be if we had 4,000 feet of road, we would have 1,000 feet of cracks. On my map, I also circled these cul-de-sacs here in red and wrote that we wouldn't be putting as much crack fill as was put in these cul-de-sacs previously. My thought behind that is that's a lot of crack fill. Crack fill is relatively expensive. You could take the money that you would spend on crack filling that and save it for paving it. If it's really that bad that it needs that much cracks or that much crack filled, then it's worth saving a little bit of money to pave it in the near future. Down on this side of the road there was another cul-de-sac, and this cul-de-sac isn't quite as bad as the other two, so we'd just probably crack fill the same as we would normally on this one. Another area of concern I circled on the map here is a piece of asphalt or the side of the road that reminds me of other bids that I've done where it looks like the asphalt is sliding, and this can be a complicated thing to fix. I have a couple pictures here from Plantations East in Lewis where they had it paved by another contractor and it started sliding pretty badly, and here's the picture, and then they had them come back and repave it and the asphalt continued to slide. So this is after a repave. It's 2 times that they've repaved this. So I would just keep my eye on this area and know that if it does start doing that, there's a bigger thing to probably fix. Lastly, I wanted to show you some roads in the development that are 1 to 8, meaning that for every foot of road there would be 0.125 feet of crack fill, and those are roads that there's not much crack fill that's needed, and there's a lot of roads in there that are like that. I imagine that the asphalt toward the back of the development is newer than the asphalt towards the front of the development, and that's mostly where those roads are that need very little crack fill. The majority cracks does not mean that we're going to get every crack in your parking lot or road. As you can see here, we have a metal box that has hot tar in it that falls down, that's gravity fed, that pushes along the asphalt. This is not an exact science. There's no bearings in those wheels because they are direct fire. Now the other way we can do these is we use crack fill like this, but this requires a lot more crack fill as it's a continuous flow. So we try to save people money by using the boxes. Here is a example of a crack that was filled 2.5 years ago, which demonstrates that they really need to be filled more often than 2.5 years. Here's another picture of just a year ago filled, and you can see it's still doing its job. That crack hasn't come back completely. And lots of times when people have alligatoring in their parking lot and they don't have money to patch it, we crack fill it like this. This helps. It doesn't solve the problem though. Here's a crack that needs to be filled, and as you see when that grass comes up through, it causes more problems. And
many times when we do roads, this is one of these cracks that we might miss. And it's not going to be the end of the world, especially if we come back as often as we're supposed to. We'll probably get it next time. There's a crack that has grass coming through, and the grass and the ice help widen those cracks over time. The cracks get wider, and the cracks get wider until you get a pothole. Now, the people who make crack fill, they know that it's not an exact science, so they give you a very detailed explanation of how you should crack fill based off of your measurements of the cracks. And no one is going to have time to get down on their hands and knees and measure the depth and width of every one of those cracks. It's just impossible. So the way we do it is the best cost-efficient way to do it.
Now, I'd like to give you an example of what it may look like when we come to seal coat, or when anybody comes to seal coat. Most likely we would do one half of the road like this, and one half of the cul-de-sacs for day one, and then we would come back the next day and do the other half of the road and the other half of the cul-de-sacs for day two. I will quit the map there just so I don't cause confusion by someone thinking that that is the plan that we will be using. Sometimes things happen and the plan doesn't follow through. So if you want a plan like that, I can certainly make one as the job would get closer. One more thing before we go. We are genuinely a family-owned and operated business, so if someone from our company is there, it is either going to be a brother-in-law or a brother. You don't have to worry about us hiring somebody that we don't know, that may be somebody that steals or has a wandering eye as they're going through your community. That means something to me when I have people coming to my house, or contractors coming to my house. Thanks again for inviting us to bid. We hope to get the job. We're just about 2 miles up the street from you guys, so it'd be a great job for us to get to have. Thank you.